Coming up today on Fighting Fraud with AARP Connecticut. It's vacation season.
And she said, sir, the card was rejected. I said, what? There's no balance on the card. She said, I'm sorry.
One of our jet-setting volunteers shares the tips for keeping your money safe overseas and your home safe while you're gone. Then, from room service cons to winning a flight somewhere, we show old and new ways criminals target travelers and red flags to look for. Plus, timeshare trouble.
Coming up, I'm actually going to tell you 2 real-life stories of Connecticut residents who were targeted by timeshare scams.
And what does technology have to do with time off?
It's important to do updates to our computers, our phones, any of our devices.
Find out why those computer updates could be the key to keeping your trip carefree.
Welcome to Fighting Fraud with AARP Connecticut. Today, we're talking about vacations and travel scams. Are you planning to travel in the next year? Let us know in the comments below. First up, let's cover the basics, like what is a travel scam?
A travel scam is a scheme to make money by fraudulent, deceptive, or dishonest means, usually using travel, vacation homes, or vacation rentals as the hook.
So now that we're all on the same page, let's take a look at some really creative ways one of our own volunteers keeps his home safe while he travels around the globe.
We went over on a tour in Shanghai in 2006. Okay. And it was a small group. And my wife and I normally don't take these guided tours and so forth. We usually make our own plans. A lot of it because I was doing business and I knew what to do and where and so forth. But I said, okay, we went to China. And I said, we're going to go inside China, and English is not spoken in parts of China when you get only Chinese Mandarin. And she goes, okay. And so the group, there was 18 of us, and that was it. And we went on a tour of the Yangtze River and the dam when it was being built and so forth. And we had such a great time together. And the world is small. We enjoyed each other so much that after that, every year we get together somewhere. We were supposed to go to Italy as a group 2 years ago, but COVID killed that. But we went to Canada, other parts of the United States. But fortunately, from this group that I mentioned, we've all traveled enough that we've learned from each other little things to do. One of the things I do pre-travel is I let certain neighbors know that I'll be gone, because we have arrangement for them to pick up certain things so it doesn't look like somebody is away. And to reinforce that, we have light timers in certain rooms, so that they go on at different times. And it looks like someone's in my office, the living room, and the bedroom. And we do that for at least 3 to 4 weeks before we leave, so it looks like a habit's been established and nothing is acutely different. Before, we don't really tell everybody when we're traveling. We'll say we'll visit our daughter sometime in the winter. And so we never really give anybody the time, except for our son, who lives 2 miles away, and for 2 of our neighbors, one across the street and one next to us, who do a service for us while we're gone. We do service for each other while we're gone. And a couple things that we do is that we make sure that I cancel a newspaper at least a couple of days before we leave, and it starts a couple of days when we get back. So there's no papers hanging around the driveway. Second thing is that neighbor will pick up our mail, and we give her a key. She'll pick up the mail and she'll bring it into the house and paper, whatever's there. We also alert them if we expect any packages. We make sure we don't order anything that'll arrive while we're gone. But if it happens, we make sure they know it's coming and they'll look for it.
Thanks, Byron. Hey, next time you go on vacation, you better send me a postcard. So now that you're prepped for your trip, what type of scams should you be looking out for? Kristen takes a look at the top travel scams and their red flags.
There are actually 5 common vacation or travel scams. The first one is the vacation rental con. So imagine you book a vacation, and it isn't until you get to your destination that you realize the place you had planned to put your head down doesn't even exist. Scammers will often get you by offering great amenities and a low price. They'll give you a sense of urgency to book now. What they're really doing is showing you a picture of a home that's not even available to rent. But unfortunately, you don't realize that until you get to your destination and your money is already in the hands of that scammer. So to avoid this scam, we recommend calling the owner of the home on the phone and getting your questions answered. And if those answers are vague, that is a red flag. Another common scam is the free vacation scam. If you're offered a free vacation and you didn't even enter a contest, you should be very wary. A lot of times these scams will come with additional fees. Now, as we know, nothing in life is free. So if they say you're going to have to pay for your airfare or there's additional taxes, tips, port fees, what will often happen is you'll pay those fees, but you'll never get that vacation. So one of the things that we see with these free vacation scams are the prices and the amenities just seem too good to be true. If you research them and compare them to similar vacations in the same destination and they're way off, that's a red flag. Also, if they pressure you and they tell you you need to agree to this free vacation and this free deal right now, that should be a red flag. Hotel scams look a little bit different, and there's several different types of hotel scams that we're seeing. One is the fake front desk call. You'll get a call after you've booked or after you've checked in, and they'll say, we need to verify your credit card information. But they'll also perhaps ask you for some banking information. By having your credit card information, they're actually fishing for your personal information so that they can steal your identity. We also see fake menus in hotel rooms. You dial up the number, you place your order, you give the scammer your credit card information, but you never get your food. Wi-Fi skimming is a growing scam that we're seeing targeting travelers. A scammer will open up a free Wi-Fi network. We urge you never to do any sort of personal banking information over a free Wi-Fi when you're traveling, because what the scammer can do is they can pull your personal data and they can hack into your accounts, steal your identity, and steal your money.
Wow, I never heard of that room service menu scam. I'm definitely going to have to spread the word about that. Later on, Christine is going to be back to talk about how two different folks from Connecticut were targeted by timeshare scams. Now, let's look at a few other things that you should do while you're on the go to protect yourself.
I did notify credit card companies that I would be traveling from what date to what date. And the reason why I did that, at one time I traveled overseas, the United Kingdom, and I had gone to a store and I made a purchase and I used a credit card, and that card was rejected. And I was surprised because I had no balance on the card. So I went to another card I had, used it, and went through. That night, when I went back to my B&B, I called that credit card company, and their comment was, Mr. Peterson, we didn't know that you were out of the country, and for safety's sake, we rejected the charge. And I said, thank you. And they said, next time, just notify us just to play it safe. So that's what we started doing, was notifying the credit companies.
I advise people when traveling to use a credit card to make purchases. Those purchases are protected. If somebody gets a hold of your number, your credit card company offers protections. You can call them. You can cancel that card right away. They'll issue you a new one. If somebody gets a hold of your debit card, they immediately have access to your bank account, and they can take everything out that's in there.
One thing we do in order to protect ourselves as well is we'll take pictures. And Lord, we take a lot of pictures, a lot of images. But when we come home, only then we'll pick a few out and we will send out saying, while we're on a recent vacation or a recent trip, and we don't say when it was, just a recent trip, here are a couple of sites. And my wife started something called Fabulous Fridays. So once she keeps that up even when we travel. Once she'll send a picture from somewhere saying, on our trips we've done, here's something I picked up when we were out last year. She might have just taken it yesterday, but last year, and it'd be a picture of a beautiful sunset. And now everybody gets used to looking for her Fabulous Friday photo. But again, we don't say that anything, we don't take any pictures of current trip, and we avoid sending it back. While we were there yesterday, here's what we took. That way we don't advertise that we're not home.
You want to make sure you know everybody. So many people accept friend requests just to have a lot of people on there. And if that's the case, you really don't want to share information like, I'm going to be in Hawaii for a week, or, I'm going to be away from my home for this extended period of time, because it just could be just too tempting for people that want to, straight out steal, break in and steal, go and try to take things out of your mailbox. Maybe you hadn't put a stop on your mail, and, there's bills and things that come in. There's a lot that people could do with our information. And that's why we need to keep it so secure.
A good example, when I was in China, I got on one of their subways with a coworker, and you're jammed in really tight. And one of the things, I don't carry my wallet in the back pocket. I carry it in my front pocket, so it's deep down there. And when I'm in a crowd, my hand might be in that pocket just to sit there, like I'm trying to stay warm. Because I've had a couple times when I was in that crowd, I could feel someone's hands in my back pocket. A couple of the clothes that I had zippers, internal zippers on those pockets, so I could zip it up. And I do have a travel vest that I used when I was traveling out in the Far East because it was warm. And it has a ton of pockets that you see, but what you don't see has internal pockets that are zipped. And I would carry my wallet in there, or if I had a credit card case, I keep it in there. And also the credit card case I have, one I have from AARP, are those that you can put your cards in that have the device that avoids anybody being able to read the card.
So many of these tips seem to be common sense, but I don't know about you. When I'm getting ready and planning my travel, I can get really preoccupied. So these are all great reminders. Now, next up, Kristen's going to talk about those timeshare scams.
Timeshare scams are also very common, and they really fall into two buckets. One is the timeshare reselling con. This is where a scammer pretends to be a real estate agent or a real estate broker. They'll say that they have an interested buyer in your timeshare, but you need to pay an upfront fee to them in order to make the transaction go through. You pay that fee, but that scammer or fake real estate agent never comes through with the deal. The other type of timeshare scam that we're seeing, and what we've seen reported quite often to Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker, is people investing in timeshares. One Connecticut woman reported losing $34,000 when she was in Mexico. She struck a deal to buy a new timeshare. Now, this company said that they would actually sell her other timeshare and use the profit to cover what she still owed on the new one. She paid them $34,000. Then she went to the bank, and that's when she found out that the escrow company they told her to put her money in didn't actually exist. Instead, all of that money went into the hands of a scammer. Another Connecticut victim reported to us that she lost $8,000 after investing in a vacation club. Now, this vacation club promised that it could beat the price of any other trip with 110% price match guarantee. Unfortunately, she found out pretty quickly that was not the case. They also said that they could sell her timeshare, her existing timeshare, and actually help her make a profit on it. That also didn't happen. In both of these cases, you see something in common, which is this idea of reselling timeshares. What we want people to know to avoid this type of scam is that they shouldn't give in to any sort of pressure to make a quick decision. Any reputable company would give you time to do your research. When you're doing that research, there's a couple of things that you should do. One is an internet search of the company with the word scam. You can find out pretty quickly whether other people have been scammed by the same company. We also recommend going to BBB Scam Tracker to look up whether other people have been scammed, and if you have been, to report it there as well to help others. But you really want to do your research on these companies before you give them any money. Any pressure to buy is a red flag.
Oh, those poor people. It makes me so mad to see criminals targeting so many. Luckily, there are some things you can do to protect your information, not only when it comes to booking trips, but when it comes to protecting your identity abroad too.
Well, when it comes to booking, everything is online. It's hard to, you can call. If I always say to people, do what makes you comfortable. When you find the airline that you want, type in the name of the airline. It's a bad habit to use a link from an email or from social media, or to turn that around and say it a better way. It's a much better habit to type right in to the website that you want to go to, because you know you are going directly to that site. So that's really the biggest tip I can say to help protect your finances when you're preparing, when you're, looking into booking travel. If you're doing it online, you want to do it from your home computer, which should be secure. So that should be my number 2, is make sure your home computer, your home network is secure. It's important to do updates to our computers, our phones, any of our devices, because these updates often involve a security patch. So always do your updates. On our phones, a lot of times we have to go into the apps and it'll say update all. Just sit there and give it 5 or 10 minutes to update all your apps and you're good to go. On your laptop, when it's ready to update, have it set up. If you're not sure, have somebody come and take a look at it. Make sure you're set up for automatic updates. And when you get that pop-up that says there is an update, you maybe don't have to do it right now while you're working, but you can set it up for overnight. It can do it, at a convenient time for you. But it's so important to take care of those updates for security purposes. So if you think your identity is stolen, there's several steps that you should immediately do. Contact your credit card providers, contact those financial institutions, let them know immediately that you believe your cards have been compromised, and they will immediately do what they need to do. They'll put a hold on it, they'll stop them. You won't be charged for whatever purchases were made with them, and they'll issue you a new one. You should also change any passwords. If you have if you go online to pay bills or anything with that credit card, change any of those passwords. I know it could be a pain. We all get used to the passwords we use, and it's such a tough thing, but it's so important to change those, because just in case, they've gotten into your account that way. And then, so we talked about the credit, the fraud alert on your credit reports. So a fraud alert on your credit report means that if somebody is accessing your credit, you will be notified. A credit freeze is a little different. In fact, for some people, before they go on a trip, especially if it's going to be an extended trip, we say, consider putting a credit freeze out there. And then what a credit freeze does is it does not allow anyone to access your credit. If you're going on vacation, you're not going to anticipate taking out a loan or going to a store and necessarily applying for more credit. It's very unlikely. So if you have that credit freeze in place, there is no way, if anybody steals your information, that they could then access and establish credit in your name because you have your accounts frozen.
So one thing I've been wondering about is travel insurance. Kristen is back to help us navigate the ins and outs of it all.
Well, you may be surprised to learn that your existing insurance may cover your travel plans. So you should check with your car insurer, your medical insurer, your home insurance, and see if they'll cover any sort of incidents that may happen while you're on vacation. Vacations are expensive enough. You don't want to have to pay for something you already have. If you paid for your vacation with a credit card, that credit card company may actually cover your vacation. So you should check with them before you leave. See if they offer any sort of travel insurance. You should also alert your credit card company if you are going to be using it on your vacation, because they monitor your spending. And if you're spending differently or more than you normally would, they may put an alert on your account. There's something called a cancellation waiver, but it doesn't usually provide you the same amount of coverage as trip insurance. It includes a lot more restrictions. If you really want to make sure you're covered, you should purchase travel insurance. That will cost you about 5 to 7% of your entire vacation. you really need to read the fine print when you purchase travel insurance. It does not cover pandemics typically. It also won't cover anything that's been forecasted. So say you book a trip to Florida after you've heard there's a hurricane warning. It will not cover that trip if it gets canceled because you already knew about the hurricane that was forecasted in that location.
What a great show today. I don't know about you, but I feel way more prepared for my next trip. Remember, if you have heard of any kind of scams in your area, or if you've been targeted, call the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline at 877-908-3360. Thank you so much for joining us today on Fighting Fraud with AARP Connecticut. Make sure to like and subscribe and check back for new episodes.
Join us for events in your community. Go to aarp.org/CT events. Look for the Con Artist Playbook by AARP Connecticut.